Stanley Porter here, your online personal trainer and co-author of The Wait is Over, answering the question, are there any alternatives to eating bread? I'll give you the quick answer first. Sure, and it depends on how you're using bread in your diet. Are you cooking with bread, i.e. shredding it up, putting it in your meatloaf mixture so that you can kind of get it to mold together? That can be solved by using oats instead. Are you just eating dinner rolls or cornbread at dinner because you want something starchy, something a little heavy to make the meal feel hearty? You could opt out on the bread and just have half a sweet potato. But I think there's a bigger conversation around bread, particularly as it relates to weight loss. I think there's people who are feeling like their bread eating is getting in the way of their fitness goals. So here's some of the things I think we need to think about as it relates to eating bread, okay? Number one, what kind of bread are you consuming? Is it white or is it wheat? And here's why that's important. When it comes to decreasing your body fat and losing weight, you want to make sure that your body is not in a fat producing mode. You want it to be in a fat burning mode. Here's the thing with white bread. It is higher on the glycemic index. It's a high glycemic food. The thing with higher glycemic foods is that the blood sugar or the glucose in the food enters the bloodstream quicker than most other foods, and that causes your body to produce insulin. When a spike in insulin occurs too much throughout the day, it interferes with the body's fat burning processes. Not just one time. One time your insulin spikes, fine. But if that's a chronic thing and your insulin levels are spiking 6 a.m., way up there because of what you ate, 8 a.m., up there again because of something else, a donut at 10 or 11, and that goes on throughout the day, that's not good. Your insulin levels can be consistently raised because of your high glycemic food intake to the point where your body becomes insulin resistant. And that means the insulin becomes less effective, and unfortunately in some cases doesn't become effective anymore. But when your insulin becomes less effective, you walk around with extra sugar in your body. Remember, the body is either going to use the glucose to burn it for energy or it's going to store it. So if you've got too much, that means the body has already stored what it can in your muscles and in your liver, and now it's looking for something else to do with it. And if you're not burning it off through exercise and there's no other place to store it, then the body's going to convert it to fat. So that's the problem with eating too much white bread. So I would say to combat that, switch over to wheat bread. Wheat contains fiber, which leads me to my next point, which is consume more fiber with meals. One of the things about fiber is that it slows down the entrance of glucose into the bloodstream. So when you have a bread that has more fiber, your insulin levels will not spike as high. You can either have a switch to a bread that has more fiber. You can look right on the package on the back of the nutrition label. It will tell you, you look for carbs, it'll say fiber, and it'll say sugar. So you want to make sure your bread does not have more sugar than fiber. And also, if you're eating sandwiches, make sure that you're including, particularly if they're on white bread, some other source of fiber with the meal, so that your body is not going through all of these insulin spikes throughout the day. So as you can see, it's not just about bread, it's about lifestyle. Finally, I want you to consider how much bread is a part of your culture. In my book, The Wait is Over, my co-author Nikisha writes this: when I cooked for my husband and children, I didn't think about meal planning. I cooked what I wanted and I ate whenever I felt like it. We didn't eat a lot of vegetables, and the meals I prepared were heavy on the meats and breads. In fact, there was always some type of bread at supper time. Sometimes I bought dinner rolls, and other times I served homemade rolls. I was raised on various forms of cornbread, so I always made cornbread when I cooked. Because I cooked like my granny, there was a dessert every night: cherry pies, apple pies, pound cakes, and peach cobbler. And I never ate just one slice. So this is from a Southern perspective. Lakeisha's talking about her Southern grandmother and spending the summers with her and how they ate, and it was bread at every meal, whether it was rolls or cornbread. And then we're just getting into flour in general, FLOUR, because now she talks about pies and cakes. Same deal. You're getting this probably white flour to make the cakes. Now, that's just from a Southern perspective, but I have a client who's Middle Eastern, and he revealed to me his struggle with bread is due to the fact that in his culture, bread is used as a utensil at every meal. I had no idea that he was consuming bread at every meal, using it as a utensil to scoop up the food and then eating so much bread throughout the day, and that was interfering with his weight loss goals. So you have to ask yourself those questions, and then once you figure out how bread plays into your lifestyle, you got to make a choice whether or not you need to taper off the high bread usage. So maybe if you're eating sandwiches a lot, you're now going down to one slice of bread with the contents of the sandwich for a while. I used to do that. I used to enjoy hamburger and fries, and then I eventually switched over to sweet potato fries and just give me one bun, but give me the rest on top, and I eat it with a fork and a knife, and then eventually eating the burger and all the fixings without the bread. So I tapered myself off of the bread for a time period of maybe about 3 months, or you got to figure out if you've got to go cold turkey and just substitute the bread with some other lower glycemic starches. Like sweet potatoes are lower on the glycemic index than some of the breads that you're eating. If you're trying to find an alternative to bread, I think you need to think about, well, how do you utilize bread, and then find things that can, kind of fill the gap. So if bread is like stuffing something, what else can you stuff it with? And I've named oats. If it's just you want to feel full and you want to feel like your meal is hearty, maybe you can use some potatoes for that instead of bread. I probably wouldn't live a life without bread. I would just do it for short periods of time and see how your body responds, because bread is a wonderful thing and it's very nutritious. But if we overconsume it and we eat the wrong types of bread consistently, then that's where we enter the problem zone. Okay, so hopefully I said something that was helpful for you. If you like this video, please like it. Please send me a comment. Any questions, please leave them. And of course, don't forget to share the video with someone that you think will be helped by this information. Please visit me at stanleyporter.net. I'd love to see you in one of my online classes. And until next time, be happy, be healthy.